have that so I can announce you.
Okay.
Is it time to start yet? Oh, we got 2 minutes yet. Recording.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, welcome to today's webinar from Remote Backup Systems. I'm Rob Cosgrove, CEO of the company. Today's webinar is going to be on the Amazon EC2 service, Amazon Elastic Cloud, what's it called?
Elastic Cloud Compute.
Elastic Cloud Compute. We're going to show you how to install an instance of Amazon EC2 in the cloud and also to install the remote backup server on it. Today's webinar will be recorded for your viewing pleasure later, and today's webinar will be presented by William Smith, who works for us at Remote Backup Systems. And I'll turn it over to him now.
Alright, as you can see on our screen here, we have the Amazon console open up already. Oop. Alright, as we're looking at this, what we're looking at is the Amazon web interface for their Elastic Cloud Compute service. And what this is a web service that literally puts virtual computers in the sky, enabling you to have your own Windows machines with no physical hardware under your control. It also tends to charge based on usage. There are a couple of things such as elastic block storage that you'll pay for based on how much you specify right off the bat. All things like computer hours, that all gets calculated on the fly. If you turn on an instance for 15 or 20 minutes, you will only get billed for 1 hour, which it rounds up based off of the time. If it goes for 4.5 hours, you get billed for 5. And as we're looking at the front page here, you can scroll through. This is the basic page you'll see whenever you get to the Amazon Web Management Console, which is console.aws.amazon.com. Once you've signed up for an account, you'll be able to log in. The button is in this area that has coming soon right now. You can't see it on my screen because I am already logged in, but it would just say log into the Amazon EC2 console. Once you've done that, you'll get presented with this screen. As you can see, we've already got some running instances from other projects that we're working on. I've also set up one already because whenever you launch an instance, it does tend to take about 10 or 15 minutes to set up. So instead of making you all sit through that, I went ahead and set up one in advance. Just to give you a brief idea of what you need to do to launch an instance, you'll hit the Launch Instance button. It'll pop up with a list of AMIs. These are not going to be what you want to use generally with our software. We can provide you with a specific AMI. As you can see, when we click on My AMIs, we have a few already prepared. And right now, all of these are flagged private, but we can provide you with an AMI and set it up for you as needed if you contact us about it. So what you would do at this point, now that we've selected to launch an instance, you would pick the AMI you want to launch, in which case we're going to go with the 64-bit version of the Windows operating system. And because we've chosen 64-bit, as you can see, there's only 3 options for the instance types: large, extra large, and high CPU extra large. If you go to the Amazon Web Services main page, you can get a description of what the cost will be associated based on the instance type and other qualities about the system, such as how much the bandwidth is going to charge you, and so on and so forth. You will need to create a key pair, which I cannot go into detail here on, but as you can go through the Amazon installation guides, and it has everything you need to know about creating a key pair. We've already got one generated, so we would select that. Security groups I will show you separately momentarily. This controls, it's basically like the Amazon firewall. This controls what ports are open and accessible to your machine, pretty much the same way that your home router or any other firewall that you would use does. We've already got the group set up to allow for the incoming port range of 2774, which is the default port for rbackup, and the data ranges that are defaulted into the server as well. And at this point, Once you get through, you would just hit create. Oh, sorry, that created a security group. Go ahead and walk through this as well. The security group creation, the default security group should contain what you need to get into it, which would be the remote desktop in a Windows environment. Just in case it does not, as you can see right here, it's going to default to allowing you to connect via RDC. And you can just enter a name for your security group. We'll call this one test. Enter a description. And at this point, you just hit continue. And now that this is done, you'll see down here that it has test and it's already selected. We'll check the key pair again. And you want to specify the number of instances. In this case, we only want one. Advanced options will not be necessary for any of this at this point in time. Bear with me here a second. I think our create button is off the screen. And when you get through here, okay, I just did this a minute ago, and our launch button is hidden at the moment. Sorry about that. What did it do now? Okay, let's go through this process again one more time. Sorry about that. As you can see, the EC2 web console is still currently in beta and apparently has some issues that they need to work out. So far, it's run very well, and I've never seen it kill any instances or anything like that. So, okay, here we are. Going to select the 64-bit instance again, specify one instance. We'll leave this one at large. And as you can see, the security group we created previously is still there. And currently our launch option is off the screen. I'm fixing to expand so you may see it. There it is. As you can see, it says you'll be charged an hourly rate for any instances you launch until you successfully shut them down. And currently we already have too many instances up. But at this point, it would create the instance and it would show it in your instances list. There we go. Okay. And as you can see in our instance list, we've got 3 instances that are already running. The one we're going to be working with for this purpose is going to be the 75.101.181.33, and the reason I'm calling it that is because the first 4 number ranges past EC2 is the IP address of the server. It also will automatically assign this as a domain name to it as well. You can also assign your own domain names if you feel it necessary. You can also access it just based off the IP address alone if you desire to do that. And once you have the instance up and running, and as stated earlier, it does take about 15 minutes or so for it to finally get out of the pending state and into the running state. You can hit the connect button here, and it will actually not connect you through the web browser. However, it will tell you what you need to know to get connected, which would be to open up the remote desktop client and to connect it to the public DNS or the IP address if you so desire. And at this point, I've already established a connection to this server. And as you can see, because we've bundled this image already prepared to have the rbackup server installed, it comes with it already installed. You can just run it right off the bat. And it will come up and work. We're also going to have AMIs that will have several different packages, such as SMTP options already configured, and so on and so forth, the SQL backend access, etc., just based on how you feel it will be needed by your company. At this point, it pretty much runs exactly as any other computer would. It's just like having a Windows desktop in your house, except for it's not in your house. It's a virtual machine in Amazon's data center. You can use it through RDC to do just about anything that you would normally use. It can run any sort of web services or email that you want to relate to your backup server. It could also be used to run any websites that you wanted to use to market the backup service. By default, it will come with Windows 2003. If I remember correctly, that is the only server operating system that Amazon currently supports from Windows. And it will also allow you to choose to install SQL as a AMI image. These would be the base AMI images that are provided by Amazon. So in most cases, this won't be necessary, and we can configure these for you as needed. I'm going to go into the AMI list real quick so I can show you all what I'm talking about with this. And as you can see here, the EC2 Cloud allows for a wide variety of operating systems, not limited strictly to Windows or any one flavor of Linux. Telling it to sort by the manifest. Okay, and as you can see here, we've got some images that are currently flagged as private. When you look through the list, you can find some Windows packages that have been repackaged by other people in a similar fashion to what we've done. You can also see that there are some base operating systems that contain nothing more than the OS itself or has other applications already installed. If you wanted to, it is possible, in order to boot up a regular Windows instance that has no server installed on it, and to go ahead and install your own licensed version of rbackup if you've already previously purchased. Just wanted to put that out there. As it sits now, you can also rebundle AMIs, which basically makes a copy of it so that you can boot it up later or to run multiple instances. This makes it easier for you to scale your service or to provide for failovers or any other backups. There's also services that Amazon provides that accomplishes the same thing, as well as load balancing and monitoring services that will help keep your server running at top conditions. The majority of storage with Amazon EC2, and this is another very important aspect, the majority of the storage will come through EBS, which is the Elastic Block Store. And what this does is it allows you to create specific partitions that you can assign to machines later on. You specify the amount of hard drive space that partition will use on the front end, and this data will be persistent, as in it will always be there no matter what happens. Any data that is in the instance itself, if that instance is shut down and it is not bundled, the data that is in that instance will be lost. If it is rebooted, it will not be. It's only in the condition of a shutdown. Anything that is done to bundle the AMI will indeed shut the server down, but in bundling it, it will preserve all the data that is currently in there. And as you can see here in the EBS volumes, we already have a 10 gigabyte volume that we've set up. And also in this list is snapshots, which contains things that you can get from Amazon that already has pre-bundled. For example, it has the Windows CDs for the server operating system so that you can install any add-ons that would have to be installed through the CDs. And creating a snapshot is very simple. The drop-down list that is provided here will allow you to choose volume. And when you create a volume, you're allowed to select from a list of pre-existing snapshots. This is where you will go if you need to install the CDs or options from the Windows 2003 Server CD, for example. And you also specify the size here. The availability zone is important. You want to make sure that whenever you create an EBS volume that the availability zone is the same as your instance, because this way it will not charge you for any traffic that goes between the volumes. Now, one of the other wonderful features of EC2 here is the elastic IP address. And what this does is this allows you to create a static IP address for your server. Normally, if in the normal procedures of using this, whenever you shut down a server, it would assign it a new IP address, which would be random based off of what IP addresses are available in the data center block. This allows you to create an IP address. Actually, it allocates it from the data center, but it assigns it to you and then allows you to tag instances with that IP address. This way, if anything happens to that instance, if it has to be rebooted or shut down, or if you take an AMI and you rebundle it, then you can go ahead and assign it to that instance, and whenever it comes back online, it will still maintain the old IP address. Or if you wanted to, you could create new instances and change the assignments of the IP address so that a new machine got the IP address you had allocated in elastic IP. Now, Amazon has information pertaining to creating a key pair, which you can find through the documentation link here. The EC2 resources will also have other useful information if you need to know how to create specific security groups or anything else that would pertain to maintaining your server. You can find most of that in here. Now, typically, when you start a new instance, you will be able to use the Get Windows Password option in order to get the password for the instance. It will be generated randomly. With our current AMIs, we have the passwords assigned on the front end, and we know what they are. We'll be changing them before we hand them out. So you cannot currently use that particular option with our instances at this point in time. Whenever we give one out, you will be aware of what the password is, so you won't have to worry about that. If you just create a new instance after it is fully running and you can get the RDC to respond, then the Get Windows Password option will work, and it will tell you what the password is, and you can use that to log in. That pretty much covers launching an instance with Amazon EC2. It's a very straightforward system. The Amazon console is very well developed, but it is not your only option in managing this. If you do not want to use it, you can use the Firefox plugins, as well as some other plugins and software that has been written. It's mostly third-party, and I would recommend using the Amazon Web Management Console instead, just because if there are any issues, you know you can call Amazon and get an answer instead of having to deal with open source or third-party software that would not have as good support.
Okay, that's it.
All right, I think that covers it. If there's any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them. If you have a question, you can type it into your user console.
Okay, that's it.
All right. Thank you for attending the webinar.
Thank you, William. All right, that concludes today's webinar. This was on Amazon EC2 service and how to install the rbackup server, the RBS server in Amazon. I guess you all noticed that once the Amazon instance is set up in the cloud, that you control it just like a regular computer through remote desktop. Makes it real handy. You already know how to use it, and it's not nearly as scary as you may have thought before the webinar. I'm Rob Cosgrove, CEO of Remote Backup Systems. Our phone number here is 901-388-5988. You can email us at sales@remote-backup.com. And please do email us. Let us know what you thought of this webinar and how we might make them better in the future. And let us know if there's anything else we can do for you. Thank you very much for attending. Bye-bye.